Let's go back to 1971. The internet as we know it didn't exist. Instead, we had ARPANET. At this time, computers were the size of refrigerators and were only found in elite universities or military labs. The first worm wasn't created by a criminal in a basement, it was created by a researcher named Bob Thomas. He wanted to see if a program could move between computers on a network. He named it Creeper. When Creeper infected a machine, it didn't steal data. It didn't delete files. It simply displayed a message. I'm the Creeper. Catch me if you can. It was a digital game of tag. In fact, to stop it, another programmer, Ray Tomlinson, had to write the first ever antivirus, which he named Reaper. Its only job was to find Creeper and delete it. The lesson: in 1971, the community was so small that hacking was just a friendly experiment among colleagues. There was no malice, just curiosity. But Bob Thomas had accidentally opened Pandora's box by proving that a program could act on its own across a network. Fast forward 17 years to November 2, 1988. The internet had grown to about 60,000 computers. Then, overnight, the prank turned into a disaster. Robert Tapan Morris, a graduate student at Cornell, released a program designed to measure the size of the internet. He wanted to see how many computers were connected, but he made a fatal coding error. He programmed the worm to copy itself even if it found that a computer was already infected. The result? The worm replicated so fast that it clogged the memory of every computer it touched. Within 24 hours, 10% of the entire internet was paralyzed. Systems at Harvard, Princeton, NASA, and the Pentagon ground to a halt. This was the first time the public realized how vulnerable our new digital world was. It led to two major firsts. The first conviction: Robert Morris became the first person convicted under the brand new Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. The birth of defense: the Department of Defense realized they needed a 911 for the internet, leading to the creation of CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team. The Morris worm proved that even an accident could cause millions of dollars in damages. To understand how we got from these pranks to modern warfare, we have to look at the evolutionary biology of cyber attacks. Hackers realized that for an attack to be successful, it needed to solve two problems. How do I get in? And how do I spread? 1. The virus, the hitchhiker. Early attacks were mostly viruses. A virus is like a biological flu, it needs a host to survive. It attaches itself to a piece of code or a file, like an old floppy disk or an email attachment. It cannot move unless you click it or run that program. It's passive. 2. The worm, the independent traveler. As we saw with Morris, a worm is far more dangerous. It doesn't need you to click anything. It looks for holes or vulnerabilities in a network and crawls through them on its own. It replicates itself and moves like a wildfire. If a virus is a flu, a worm is a self-driving car. 3. The Trojan horse, the master of disguise. But then hackers got smarter. They realized that if they couldn't find a hole in the network, they could just trick the human. Thus, the Trojan horse became the king of cybercrime. It looks like a good thing, a free game, a helpful PDF, or a love letter, like the famous ILOVEYOU virus of 2000. Once you let it in, it opens a back door and lets the hacker take total control. The conclusion of the shift: we moved from the creeper, a harmless ghost, to the Morris worm, an accidental plague, to Trojans, malicious spies. Today, these three types have merged into what we now call cyber warfare. Nation-states now use these same techniques to shut down power grids or influence elections. The prank era is officially over. 1. The 1994 Citibank hack, the first digital bank raid. Now, we move to 1994. Imagine a world where people still thought you needed a gun and a mask to rob a bank. Then came Vladimir Levin. Levin was a computer programmer in St. Petersburg, Russia. From his simple laptop, he didn't hack the internet, because the bank wasn't even fully on the internet yet. Instead, he intercepted telecommunications lines. He listened as customers called the bank and punched in their PIN numbers. Once he had their codes, he broke into Citibank's cash management system. The heist, over several months, he and his accomplices moved over $10 million to accounts in Finland, Israel, and the US. The catch? He was caught not by a supercomputer, but because his accomplices got greedy. They were arrested while trying to withdraw the cash in various cities. Levin was eventually lured to London, arrested, and extradited. The legacy? This was the loss of innocence for global banking. It forced Citibank and others to realize that physical vaults were no longer enough. This led to the creation of the physical authentication tokens we still use today. It proved that a person halfway across the world could be more dangerous than a robber in the lobby. 2. The 2000 ILOVEYOU virus. The power of social engineering. If 1994 was about technical skill, 2000 was about human psychology. On May 4, 2000, millions of people opened their email to find a message with a simple subject line, "I love you." Inside was a file named Love Letter for You, txt.vbs. Because Windows hid the .vbs extension back then, people thought it was just a harmless text file. They clicked it out of curiosity or affection. The chaos. Within 10 days, it infected 50 million computers. That was 10% of the entire internet at the time. It hit the Pentagon, the CIA, and the British Parliament. It didn't just steal data, it overwrote your photos and music files with copies of itself. The damage, it caused an estimated $15 billion in damages. The creator? A 24-year-old student in the Philippines named Onel de Guzman. The twist? Here's the crazy part. He wasn't even charged with a crime. Why? Because in 2000, the Philippines had no laws against cybercrime. They had to let him go. The lesson? This was the first major social engineering attack. It taught us that the biggest vulnerability in any system isn't the software. It's the person sitting in the chair. 3. The 2014 Sony Pictures hack. Reputation as a weapon. In 2014, the motive for hacking changed. It wasn't about money anymore, it was about reputation and politics. Sony Pictures was about to release a comedy called The Interview, which poked fun at North Korea. In retaliation, a group calling themselves the Guardians of Peace, widely believed to be backed by North Korea, completely destroyed Sony's internal network. The attack? They didn't just steal money. They leaked unreleased movies, thousands of private emails between Hollywood executives, and the social security numbers of 47,000 employees. The fallout? It was humiliating. High-level executives had to resign because of the things they said in private emails. Sony even initially canceled the movie's release due to threats of physical violence against theaters. The lesson? This proved that fraud isn't just about your bank account. In the digital age, your reputation is an asset. If a hacker steals your private conversations, they can bankrupt you without taking a single dollar. 4. The 2021 Colonial Pipeline, the ransomware era. Finally, we come to the era we are living in now, the ransomware era. In May 2021, a group called DarkSide targeted the Colonial Pipeline, which provides 45% of the fuel to the U.S. East Coast. This wasn't a movie leak, this was a national security crisis. The trigger? How did they get in? Was it a complex, high-tech hack? No. It was a single compromised password for an old VPN account that didn't have multi-factor authentication, MFA. The panic? Gas stations ran dry, prices spiked, and people were seen filling plastic bags with gasoline out of fear. The CEO of Colonial Pipeline made the controversial decision to pay the $4.4 million ransom in Bitcoin just to get the key to unlock their systems. The twist? The FBI actually managed to track the Bitcoin and recovered $2.3 million of it a few months later. The lesson? This attack changed U.S. law. It proved that our critical infrastructure, water, power, and fuel, is resting on a very thin line of security. One forgotten password can shut down half a country. 1. 2025. The mega leak, the end of the password. Time: 3 to 4 minutes. If you think your password is safe because it has a capital letter and a symbol, think again. In 2025, researchers uncovered what we now call the mega leak, a mother of all breaches, Moab. We're talking about a single, searchable database containing over 16 billion stolen credentials. This wasn't just a list of random accounts, it was a curated collection of logins from the world's biggest platforms: Google, Apple, Facebook, and Netflix. How it happened? This wasn't a hack of Google itself. Instead, it was credential stuffing on a global scale. Hackers took small leaks from thousands of different websites over the years and compiled them into one massive AI-powered tool. The real danger: with 16 billion passwords, hackers don't need to crack your account anymore. They just use an automated script to try your email and password across every bank and social media site in existence. The lesson: this event effectively declared the death of the password. If you aren't using biometrics or hardware security keys in 2026, you are essentially leaving your front door wide open. 2. 2025. The Jaguar Land Rover shutdown. The £1.9 billion lesson. Next, let's look at the most expensive cybersecurity failure in UK history. In 2025, the automotive giant Jaguar Land Rover, JLR, was hit by a sophisticated ransomware strain. The impact: this wasn't just a few locked office computers. The malware hit their OT, operational technology, the software that actually runs the robotic arms on the assembly lines. Production across their major plants ground to a complete halt. For weeks, not a single car rolled off the line. The cost, between the lost production, the forensic cleanup, and the hit to their stock price, the total damage was estimated at a staggering £1.9 billion. The twist: JLR refused to pay the ransom. While this was ethically praised, it meant their recovery took much longer because they had to rebuild their entire network infrastructure from scratch. The lesson: it proved that in 2026, cybersecurity is a boardroom issue, not just an IT issue. A single breach can now cost a company more than its annual profit. 3. 2026. The rise of deepfake financial fraud, AI versus human. Now, let's talk about what is happening right now in 2026. We have entered the era of phishing 2.0. Recently, a multinational firm lost $25 million in a single afternoon. How? A finance employee received a video call from his CEO and CFO. He saw their faces, he heard their voices, and he followed their instructions to authorize a massive wire transfer for a secret acquisition. The reality: the CEO wasn't on the call. The employee was talking to a real-time AI deepfake. Using just a few minutes of public footage from YouTube and LinkedIn, the hackers were able to clone the CEO's appearance and voice perfectly. The scary part: this is social engineering on steroids. We were taught to look for typos in emails, but how do you defend against your boss's face looking at you through a screen? The lesson: we now need human MFA. Companies are now using secret passphrases or out-of-band verification just to prove that the person they see on Zoom is actually a human being. 4. The grand trend: supply chain attacks. To wrap up this history, we have to look at the big picture. The trend is no longer about hitting one person or one laptop. It's about supply chain attacks. Think of it like this: why would a thief try to pick 1,000 different house locks when they can just steal the master key from the locksmith? In 2026, hackers are targeting the software providers, the people who make the tools that everyone else uses. If they hack one payroll software or one cloud provider, they get backdoor access to every single one of that provider's customers. We saw this with the MOVEit and SolarWinds attacks, and it is becoming the primary weapon of nation-state hackers. We have moved from the creeper prank in 1971 to AI-powered, multi-billion-dollar warfare in 2026. The world has changed, and if you aren't evolving your security, you're already behind. Before we dive into the steps, let's bust a myth. Movies show hackers wearing hoodies, typing 1,000 words a minute, and shouting, "I'm in 5 seconds." The reality is much slower and much scarier. In 2026, the average dwell time, that's the time a hacker spends inside a network before they are caught, is often weeks or even months. They aren't smashing the door down, they are picking the lock, moving into the guest room, and living in your house for a month before they decide to steal the jewelry. They follow a very specific 3-step process. Step 1. Reconnaissance. The digital stalking. Step 1 is reconnaissance. Think of this as the casing the joint phase of a physical heist. Hackers today are experts at OSINT, open source intelligence. They don't start by attacking your firewall. They start by attacking your Google search bar and your LinkedIn. Social engineering recon. They look for who the new hires are, because they are less likely to know security protocols. They look for who the finance manager is. Technical recon. They use automated scanners to see if your company is running old, unpatched software. They look for open ports, basically digital windows that were left unlocked. The 2026 twist. Today, hackers use AI to scrape thousands of LinkedIn profiles in seconds to find the weakest link in a company's hierarchy. By the time they send their first email, they already know your name, your boss's name, and what project you're currently working on. Step 2. Infiltration, the breach. Once they know who you are, they have to get inside. This is infiltration. There are 2 main ways they do this. The perfect phishing email. Forget the Nigerian prince emails with bad grammar. In 2026, they use spear phishing. You get an email that looks exactly like a Microsoft Teams notification or a request from your actual HR department. Because they did their recon in step 1, the email is incredibly convincing. One click on a View Document button is all it takes. Exploiting vulnerabilities. Every piece of software has bugs. When a company like Microsoft or Adobe finds a bug, they release a patch, an update. If you haven't clicked Update on your computer in 3 months, you are living in a house with a broken window. Hackers have exploit kits that automatically scan for these old bugs to walk right through your defenses. The key fact: in 90% of cases, the door isn't kicked down. It's opened from the inside by an unsuspecting employee. Step 3. Exploitation and exfiltration, the lurk and the strike. This is the most terrifying part. Once they are in, they don't strike immediately. They lurk. They use a technique called lateral movement. They start on a low-level laptop, like a receptionist, and slowly navigate through the network until they find the keys to the kingdom, the server with the credit card numbers or the admin's password. The watcher. They might spend 2 weeks just reading your emails. They want to see how the CEO talks, when the big invoices are sent, and who handles the money. The strike, exfiltration. Once they have everything they need, they strike. They might trigger ransomware, encrypting all your files so you can't work. Or, more commonly in 2026, they perform double extortion. They steal your data first, exfiltration, and then they encrypt your systems. They tell you, pay us to unlock your computers, and pay us again so we don't leak your private customer data on the dark web. The result: by the time you see the "your files are encrypted" message, the battle was actually lost weeks ago. Conclusion. So, when we talk about cybersecurity, we aren't just talking about a firewall. We are talking about stopping this 3-step cycle. We need to hide our info during recon, verify our emails during infiltration, and monitor our networks for weird behavior to catch them during the lurk. In our next segment, let's look at the actual major frauds that used these exact steps to steal billions.